All right, boys and girls, here we go. This is Module 6, Lesson 4, Homework Answers. So on here, it's asking you what is the length of the shaded part of the meter stick in centimeters? So you'll need to remember that 1 meter is actually made up of 100 different centimeters. So right now it's split into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 parts. So if you think of that, this is 10, this is 10, this is 10. So what we're really talking about is that we have 30 centimeters, and 30 centimeters is the same as having 30 out of 100 meters. This is also down here. They want to know if we could do it like this too. Again, 30 out of 100. And perhaps I should back up a little bit. I'm always thinking in terms of 100 meters, but they want you to realize is that you can do groups of 10. So yes, this is 30, but we also know that 30 out of 100 is the same as 3 out of 10 because there's 3 groups of 10 there. So I probably should have included that as well. So I'm glad I backed up to take care of that. As we move down the page, they want to know in decimal form the length of the shaded portion of the meter stick. Well, we could look at this as being 31/100ths. We could also look at this as being 3/10 because 31/100ths and 3/10 are the same. And we can see that by the amount of space they take up here. They ask you again, what fraction of a meter is 30 centimeters? I feel like it's a little redundant here. We are looking at 30 out of 100 or 3/10. Not sure why they ask us to do that twice, but they do. When we get down to the bottom part of the page here, they want to know if you have 5/10, how many hundredths is that? Well, one way to think of it is if I have a decimal like this, 5/10, we're going to be looking at it in terms of hundredths. Well, 5 in the tenths place is going to make 50 in the hundredths. Moving over here, they show it to us in fraction form, 5/10. Well, we know from our work with fractions that to get from 10 to 100, we're multiplying by 10. So it's going to be the same thing where we're multiplying by 10 to get over here. 5 times 10 is 50. Over here, they give us a new problem. They have 4/10. They've done the top part. If you're not sure, you can ask yourself, how do we get from 4 to 40? Hey, it's times 10. So obviously to go this way, we're going to be multiplying by 10. So this is 100. So I hope that that makes sense. When we get down to the bottom portion of the page, it wants us to use this model to add the shaded parts as shown. Write a number bond with the total written decimal form and the parts written as fractions. The first one's been done. So you could see what they did to add this part plus this little part. They said what it equaled. They put it in decimal form. They also broke the decimal into fraction parts. So when you turned the page on your homework, bear with me as I turn the page here for mine. So we're looking up at the top here. Sorry about the shadows cast from my lighting. So up here, they didn't give us a whole lot of room to write. So I'm going to put the information above and below. I hope that's okay with you guys. So on this first part, again, we're looking at a meter stick. It's been broken into tenths. I see 1, 2, 3/10. So they wanted to see 3/10 plus. And if I look, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is going to be out of 100ths. This would be like having 38/100ths, which is the same as 38/100ths written like that in decimal form. Now they want you to take that decimal form, that 38, and then you want you to realize that this is like having 3/10 and this is like having the 8/100ths. So I hope that makes sense for you. On the next problem, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to say 4/10 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/100ths. And they're going to say that that is 46/100ths, which is also 46/100ths written that way. Now, some of you might be saying, Mrs. Sadowski, you said we can never add fractions without a common denominator. And that is true. The reason this works is that 4/10 is the same as 40/100ths. And so what the math book is hoping you realize is that you're doing this conversion right here. This 4/10 is 40/100ths, that you're doing it before you get to here. So that's where we get, it's not 4 plus 6. This is really worth 40 plus the 6. Same thing up top. It's not 3 plus 8 to make 38. 3/10 is really 30/100ths. Okay, so this little part up here, they're expecting you to do in your head before you get to this number. Same thing here. This is happening in your head. Now they want you to take the 46/100ths and realize that that spot is worth 4/10. This spot is worth 6/100. Okay? Down in the middle of the page on number 4, it says on each meter stick, shade in the amount shown, then write the equivalent decimal. I went ahead and did my shading ahead of time. That way you don't have to watch me shade. So I shaded in 9 full squares, and this is 0.9, which is 9/10. Okay, if you had written this as 90/100ths, I would also accept that because these two things are equivalent. Notice that the 10th is in the same spot. Okay, it's the beauty of decimals. You can add as many zeros to the end as you want, and you're not changing the value of that decimal. For 15/100ths, this is going to look like that, 15/100ths. So you'd have one full square shaded in, and then you had to draw some little lines to make this divided into 10 groups to represent our hundreds. And I'm sorry, hundredths with a th on the end. And you should have shaded in 5 of those little bars. On part C, we're looking at 41/100ths written like that. You would have shaded in 4 full for the 10ths part, and 1 tiny little bar here for the 100ths part. At the bottom, they wanted you to do a number bond and pull out the 10ths from the 100ths like you did in problem 3 of the homework. So remember up here where we were separating things out, they'd like you to do that again, and they want it to be a decimal. So I would, have our decimal over here to the side, and you can either number bond it out from the decimal or you can number bond it out of here. It doesn't matter to me. This is 2 in the 10ths place, 3 in the 100ths. Part B would have been 38/100ths like that. And again, you could pull out the 3/10ths and the 8/100ths from the decimal, or you could do it from the fraction. It really doesn't matter. The goal is that you see that we are breaking up the 2 different place value spots. Over here, we've got 82/100ths. And again, here, I'll pull it out of the fraction on this side. We've got 8/10ths happening over here, and we have 2/100ths. On this one, we have 76/100ths, realizing that that represents 7/10ths, and that represents the 6 in the 100ths place. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, our answers for lesson 4.